All right, enough jazz music in the background. So we're gonna try doing GP2, Grand Prix 2. So not something that I've played on the channel in the past, and honestly not something I've played for a super long time. But got it working through a lot of Googling, and it might not even be working extremely well just yet. However, it should be interesting to try out. I definitely don't claim to be great at this game, so this might be kind of wanted to go live to do some practice in it, and then something that maybe I'll do a video on at some point. But Grand Prix 2, different than Grand Prix Legends, and I think I need to calibrate the controls before we're actually going to be able to do racing. So we'll take a look here. Let me know. I think there's a few folks watching. Let me know if things sound good or not. Let me see if I can figure out the menus here. So I am using a wheel, which is different than I think I ever did back in the day with Grand Prix Legends. Or sorry, Grand Prix 2. I'm probably going to say Grand Prix Legends by accident a whole bunch. But I noticed before I kind of have to calibrate it every single time I'm in before I can race. But once we're in here, we can keep it going, hopefully. So I figure we'll do some practice. And actually, before we do that, we have to pick who we're driving as. So choose a driver. So this, for those that haven't seen the sim before, this is the 1994 F1 World Championship. Very interesting that I had more than one driver selected. 1994 F1 World Championship, which is a very pivotal year, I would say, in F1. It was the year Ayrton Senna got killed. It was a year it went down to the final race in Adelaide with Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill battling it out and coming together. Michael Schumacher essentially crashing Damon Hill out to win the championship. So pretty interesting season. Grand Prix Yannick. Yeah, I don't think there's menu music, although I could be wrong within this sim. So, well, I guess somebody will tell me if I am wrong. I played this back in the day on. Why don't we take a Ferrari out? I always love driving the Ferraris. We'll do Gerhard Berger. Played this back in the day through DOS, but just had a keyboard back then. So really, I've never tried it with a wheel, and it's pretty difficult, I would say, to get started with. And so as for a circuit, I might do Silverstone because it's a good mix of high, medium, low speed. And we're just going to do maybe 10-15 minutes of practicing. Not really planning on doing any specific racing, but we might maybe do a quick race towards the end of the stream. Not planning on streaming for too long. I know I did nearly 3 hours the other day. Probably do a couple hours, maybe an hour or so. But here we are sat in the car. I have none of the assists on, which I believe back when I played with the keyboard, you had to have some assists on, which is interesting. So we'll get a feel for what the car's like. We got some fuel, tires, no laps on them, so we'll leave the pits here. And let me know if it's tough to hear my voice over the engine, and I can adjust things there. But we'll roll out of the pits and try to do some laps without spinning out. So it's an older sim. It's from, I think, 1996, so it would have come out pretty shortly after IndyCar Racing 2, which I have done on my channel a bit, and is the second sim by Jeff Crammond, who did all the Grand Prix games. He did F1 World GP, I believe, before this one, and then this was his second in the line of Grand Prix games, all the way up to Grand Prix 4, which is still a pretty awesome sim. Blast down the hangar straight here. It actually feels pretty good. Been playing around with the, as I say, dipping a wheel off the track. Super easy to damage the car here. But I've been playing a lot around with some of the different control settings, trying to help feel the wheel, because there's no force feedback in this sim, so it's pretty much directly controlling through the wheel, and it honestly feels a little odd here and there. We'll try to come over and complete some laps here. dodgy on corner entry a bit. Whoa, running a little wide onto the curbing. Yeah, Microprose published the sim, and definitely ahead of its time. I mean, unlike IndyCar 2, you can get airborne in this. Definitely will with the AI cars, but it's got some features that are, in my opinion, lesser than maybe the IndyCar games, where the actual other cars you race are not 3D objects. They're like 2D sprites, almost a la Mario Kart or something. Whoa, downshift a little bit too early here to the S's. So I hope nobody's come expecting amazing driving, because this is not a sim I have a handle on at this point, and is honestly so it's dated to a point where it feels weird, and we are stuck in the gravel. Let's see if we can get out here. Yeah, Jeff Crammond made some of the best driving games, especially in this era, obviously, but Grand Prix 4 still holds up. If it wasn't so hard to mod well, it could be a ton of fun to still use even as kind of an F1 sim. I think these sims model the racing in F1 really well. There's awesome strategy, and it's actually quite fun to watch a race. So I got out of the gravel there. I don't know all of the controls to the sim and everything, so I'm actually not sure if I was to go off the circuit how to get back to the garage. If anybody wants to share that with me, that could be helpful. Because I did that earlier trying to get everything set up, where I went off the circuit and had to quit the practice and rejoin to get the car back. So, not making very good laps here. Try to see what we can do. Car feels pretty hard to control in a straight line, to be honest. There we go. Not the best line through the S's, but not terrible. The DOSBox, so I'm using the newest version of DOSBox. Ugh, having trouble there at the end of the hanger straight once again. Newest version of DOSBox. I read some things out there, and then another YouTuber got the game running recently where they're recommending an older version of DOSBox that I honestly couldn't get running. So this is the regular version of DOSBox, and the reason why folks suggest an alternate version really is that it has some speed issues, I guess, where the game might actually be running a little quicker than it's meant to be. To me, it doesn't seem super off, but I think it's something. Whoa, a lot of oversteer there on power. So we can spin her back around. It's something like a minute is gonna be running at a minute in real time will run like a minute 06 in the game. So it's definitely maybe a little faster than it's supposed to be. The seconds on my dashboard look to be counting up maybe slightly quicker than they ought to, but I don't think it's to a point where it feels too fast. Alright, I just want to make a clean lap here. Graphics-wise, and the tracks themselves, they're pretty good. They're definitely not to the level that, you know, even like a Grand Prix Legends has the circuits, but you definitely know where you're driving. It's not, I think the first F1 GP is maybe a little too hard to tell some of the circuits where they are, what they are. Wow. If I ever get this corner right, we will be in business, but these circuits, you know, it does look like I'm at Silverstone. Some of the corners are definitely wrong. This is before it was probably easy to get satellite imagery to at least make the tracks the correct shape, but they're definitely not too bad. As for like a DOSBox config to make it run, man, didn't do anything too special with DOSBox. To make it run, it's, I think, essentially just as fast as DOSBox can go. I'm gonna try to slow it it up just a little bit to try to make some laps here instead of just spinning the car out every 3 corners. Not super fun to watch, I'm sure. Through the first corner there, not too bad. This, of course, would be the older layout of Silverstone, and it's actually pretty interesting looking at some of the circuits in the sim because they are the older versions of the track, something like Imola, which was changed after the '94 season to have some additional chicanes in it post the Senna accident. We'll give it some extra braking here at the end of Hangar Straight. The car literally stops on a dime. It might be something I need to adjust is my brake settings. See me lock it, my brakes up going to the corners quite a bit. Ugh, can't get on those curbs. Down into 3rd gear here for the chicane. This whole part of the circuit is gone in the modern circuit, replaced with the new pit complex and everything. We would rejoin the modern track right here. Of course, also very different than the very fast Grand Prix Legends 60s circuit. Well, I made a lap without spinning, which is an accomplishment. Now, trying to do this with 25 AI is not easy. Almost making that corner. It's a little bit sharper than I would think it would be at the end of Hangar Straight there. I feel like I'm starting to get the feel a little bit for the sim. Probably spin off here at the next corner. If anybody knows what the yellow light is on the right side of the rev counter that comes on once in a while, I was playing earlier and I have no idea what that is. Maybe overheating or something. I'm not taking quite the right racing line there, but getting through. So my best time is a 1:41, it looks like. Maybe, I thought I might have saw 1:39 on there. Just so everybody is aware, I can't really read the comments while doing this. It is a lot quicker driving. Maybe down Hangar Straight here a little bit. Super hard to glance over while blasting through these corners. And getting it all wrong there at the end of Hangar Straight. Spin it around. Smoke definitely looks nice for the game at this time. I didn't get this game in 1996 when it came out. This was one I got a little bit later, maybe around the year 2000 when Grand Prix 3 would have been coming out. I had Grand Prix 2, and I remember being so interested in it because F1, especially at the time, late 90s in America, wasn't something that was easy to get on TV, so it was kind of this mythical thing, and I had Grand Prix Legends, but this to me was the modern F1 sim, and although it looks much worse here because it's running at much lower resolution, at the time I was running Grand Prix Legends at a very similar resolution, so this sim didn't seem so much far behind in physics and things than even a Grand Prix Legends did. But quite a bit of fun. One other really cool thing about the sim is how moddable it is. It's super easy to get totally different tracks, totally different cars in the sim. The sim comes with the full 94 grid now. If I ever get the corner at the end of Hangar Straight right, that would be and the dirt really, very realistic actually. It's super hard to get the car out of the gravel traps. I mean, the only thing it's not doing there is beaching, which wouldn't be so fun at the end of a long race. What I was saying, Sim comes with the full 94 grid, which is something like 26 cars. Static grid, so you're not going to get driver changes and things, but I think it comes with the guys that race the majority of the season. And then you can go online and literally download any season of F1 ever. And, you know, I'm talking 1950 through today. Somebody has painted cars for it. There's a bunch of different car shape mods out there. And pretty cool. You can also get a lot of different tracks. And so what we're looking at here is really the vanilla game, but there's a lot you can do to it to extend the play. And if you want to do, you know, a career in F1 or something, you can certainly do that. I believe there's also physics mods as well to you know, make some of the different eras drive differently. It'd be fun to try some, I don't know, mid-80s F1 or something. Alright, let's see if we can tighten the radius up there. And making it around the corner successfully this time. Almost like a win. And I spin out again. Well, I told everybody it's going to be a learning experience here, so hope you can forgive. Definitely tricky to get the feel, but I found with these old sims, once you get the visual cues, it's not too hard to actually drive, even if it doesn't have force feedback, but you definitely have to figure out how the car behaves, where you can push things, where you can't. It's not as easy to feel as a modern sim would be. And of course, it's older. Sometimes the cars don't act in a way where you think they might. You also can't see the tires in the sim, which is hard. One thing I'm shocked by with the game, and this isn't something I really even remember, is the billboards and how they're all real sponsors. And I think there's even like Foster's billboards, which, you know, is obviously beer, not something you would usually see in a video game. They're able to get that advertising in here. Like, I know, you know, there's no cigarette brands on any of the cars. The McLaren cars say McLaren on them rather than Marlboro. We'll make it through that corner there at the end of Hangar Straight. If I can make a couple laps in a row here, we'll try to maybe do some practice with other cars. And that might be it. Into the wall. I might try to adjust the brake a little bit once we get out of the car here. It seems like it's still driving fine. I don't know how that didn't damage the car. They do have damage on. Power it up here for the front straightaway. Oh, is it non-alcoholic Foster's? Well, the Foster's logo looks the same, whether it's alcoholic or not, so. Yeah, and I guess there's Campari posters as well. And we run into the dirt. Alright, so I feel slightly better, although I'm still doing a terrible job, but I feel slightly better about how I'm doing here. So why don't we jump in something with some other cars? So we will do a non-championship race. Does anybody have any preference on circuit? I'll give it a second because I know things are pretty delayed versus the chat I'm watching. But be interesting to hear if anybody has thoughts on what track we will do. Just looking at the different tracks that there are, looking at, you know, something like San Marino. You can see here it doesn't have the chicanes right after the start-finish line. So this is the older version of that circuit. You know, other ones that might be a bit different. Monza has chicanes, of course, but they're different than the ones you'd have today. So pretty interesting circuit selection. It's pretty awesome, all the different tracks, and it looks like folks want to see Suzuka. I have to mention Adelaide, and I don't know why the picture's so green and lush. However, it's the city circuit, and so awesome Grand Prix track. I think still race today with supercars and things, but why don't we can try Japan. I won't do Monaco just because if you saw how much I was spinning out there at Silverstone, I don't think I'd make it too far. So why don't we do some free practice? And actually, before we do this, I wanted to just adjust. Gotta get to the right menu. Just want to adjust my brake settings. So I stop locking up. Everybody wants Adelaide. We'll do some Suzuka first, just to practice, and then maybe we'll switch to Adelaide. And I think I'll bump up this low sensitivity zone. Seems like a wrong thing to do, but I know I wasn't even able to hold the car in a straight line before when I didn't have the low sensitivity zone for the steering selected. So it's pretty important to do. All right, we're gonna do Japan. Maybe we'll do Adelaide after that. But we will do some free practice. So we're with other cars now, so this will be interesting. Thing to note is you can't hear the other cars, and this is something I checked on because it seems odd, but I don't believe at this point in time you could actually hear the opponents. You can only hear your own engine. Not extremely unrealistic. I think a lot of sims actually have the engine noise way too high on them. I can already see a car coming up behind me. We'll let him past. That's a Tyrrell, I believe. I think I might have the AI set on a pro setting, which might be way too fast. We'll see how behind we are here. Suzuka. Everything looks pretty on. There's no camber in any corner, though, and I don't know if that's an engine limitation, but it might be. I seem to remember a version of Indianapolis somebody did for this, for the road course, and it had a flat final corner. Just be careful not to spin the car on the throttle here. And the AI might be too fast because we're in a Ferrari and the Tyrrell is just pulling away from us. Coming to spoon. Really doesn't look anything like the real thing. Yeah, and GP3 introduced the other car sounds. And that corner looks so much different. We'll come to the final chicane here. It's pretty interesting to see these old versions of the circuits, and it's kind of like it being a little drunk. Things don't look quite right. Oh, I'm running onto the grass there as I was entering the corner. Let's see if we can get onto the circuit without another car slamming into us. All in all, feels decent right now. See if we can set a lap without slamming into the wall. We'll let the Benetton by behind me. It's probably Schumacher. We're definitely backwards. If anybody can tell me how you can reset the car, if that's possible, that would be super helpful. I'm going to try not to go backwards down the whole circuit, but this is going to be pretty hard to flip the car around. As I'm able to do it. Oh, we're gonna get wrecked there. Wow, really close. This is definitely I'm not thinking about when I chose the circuit how challenging Suzuka is as a track to begin with, never mind in a sim that I'm just getting the feel for. Come up through the gears here, though. Oof. We'll blame that one on the chat. and the steering lock I have set is so low that it's really hard to turn the car without doing like a burnout. Get the car moving. I think I just have to avoid the rumble strips altogether is kind of the plan. I'll try to do that and see how things go. Maybe be able to hit them just a little bit on the exits. Yeah, and I do think, I agree that I think the sim was made long before wheels were common. It was made for joysticks though, and so that's kind of the weird thing back in the day. A lot of people had joysticks. Joysticks are pretty common, especially if you're into flight simulators at all. And so all the racing games supported joysticks, and even I used to race race sims with joysticks. Super odd to lean a joystick back and forth and have that actually control your car's turning, but it was what we did, and then you would push it forward and backwards to brake and gas. And I remember the first time I plugged a joystick in, I think I was racing NASCAR, Racing 1 maybe, and it just opened it up so much and was so much better than the keyboard instantly that's how I raced for 2 or 3 years. Alright, able to make it through the S's this time. We'll come through the 2 right-handers here. Missing the apexes by miles, but not spinning out, which is the important thing. There we go, I was due for the spin. Well, I can see 2 cars coming up behind. I think I'm going to be able to get the car spun around. The thing that can happen is the cars will come up behind you and smash into you from behind, and you're kind of session over at that point. Alright, get the car going. Try to slide in behind this car and follow him. But I don't know if I'll have too much hope of keeping up. Getting passed by a footwork in a Ferrari, I don't know if I would make the Ferrari F1 team. But just thinking about how well the other cars are avoiding me, it's pretty astonishing the AI that was in this sim. I think the AI in this sim is really actually a step up from even the Papyrus sims of the time. Really, really good, and it's definitely one of the most redeeming factors about all of the old Jeff Crammond Grand Prix games, is how good the AI are to race against, and also just how realistic they are. Failures throughout the race, really good pit stop strategy. Come out of the S's here. So I'm not able to keep up with the with any of the cars. Might have to go turn the AI down a notch before we do qualifying. It's one of those situations where I'm actually not doing too bad when I'm on the track, but I'm so inconsistent that making it through Spoon that time. This might be, cross our fingers, but this might be the first, I think, complete lap without any spins or anything. Oh, just lifting off after the downshift there. It looks like the pits exit to the right before the chicane. I'm not sure. I guess that would have been realistic, but I don't think they would have had the wall there. Alright, what do we get? 148.5. I'm sure that's very slow. Oh, and running wide, losing our front wing. So able to stick it together for one lap. We'll have to drive around here and enter the pits. Car will have a lot of understeer now without the front wing. We can tell the front wing's gone in a couple ways. We can see it in the bottom right hand corner there. We can also switch to external views. Pretty cool to see all the different camera angles that are possible. Ooh, some make it very hard to drive, of course. So I guess I was wrong a little bit earlier when I was saying the cars themselves are 2D. The cars are 3D, the tires are 2D. So that's something a little less, I guess, realistic than the Papyrus sims at the time. Gotcha. Thank you, Azaris, for telling me press Q to return to the pits. There we go. So I knew that was possible, but hadn't seen. I was going to drive back to the pits, but I don't want to waste too much time here. Oh, and that's interesting. They put a sound effect to at least make it feel like you're sitting in the pit lane. So the weirdest thing, and this is true, I think even all the way through Grand Prix 4, to move the menu up and down on the steering wheel, you press the gas and brake pedal. So to go down, I'm pressing the brake pedal down. To go up, I'm pressing the gas. And then in some of these menus, like if I want to look at some of the other menus, you have to actually use the steering wheel to go back and forth. It's super odd, but I want to take a look at this car setup. See what we can change. It's honestly not, when I was playing this game back in the day, it was not something that I really looked at all, was the car setup. But what we'll do here is I'm going to return to the cockpit. I'm actually going to exit, leave practice. So I think we've ruled that the AI are definitely too fast. So I'm going to leave the circuit. What we'll do is we'll change the opposition standard to semi-pro. Or let's do amateur. I know this is on the low side, but I want to see how fast we are in general. Race distance, I'm gonna end up doing a 10% race, and then we have practice and everything. Okay. So we're gonna do a non-championship race at Adelaide. We'll actually try to do some qualify now, or practice first, but the one negative thing about Adelaide is I don't know the circuit 100%. And in a modern sim, I could probably get around it all right, but it's going to be pretty interesting in this. Especially because those big chicanes. But this was an absolutely awesome track back in the day. It's definitely one I think a lot of folks wish was back on the F1 calendar. Oof. Missing that corner and car jumping up quite a bit when we hit the curbs there. Alright, we get the right there. I think that's the corner that Schumacher and Hill drove each other off on. Straight away. Some awesome shots from back in the day. Nigel Mansell in the wet, I think one year in the mid-80s. And then there's, of course, the Damon Hill, I think 1996 maybe, or 5, with coming into the pits, just throwing the championship away, hitting the pit wall. Really good memories of this circuit. One that, I mean, I know we're racing in Melbourne these days, but I can't imagine folks would love to return to Adelaide. It's a huge country as well. There used to be 2 races in the US. I don't see why there couldn't be 2 in Australia. Oh, definitely missing that second chicane there, but had a car right behind me. Try to get a good run out here onto the fast straightaway. That corner is definitely just a little bit of a shift down. One of the Jordans behind me here. Oh, passing to the outside while tapping into him. Luckily not sustaining any damage, it doesn't look like. Still feeling so slow. There's definitely a lot for me to learn on this. Like not spinning out. Try to get the car going again. car might be a little bit damaged. I'm not sure. The little chart on the bottom right-hand corner of my cockpit isn't saying it, but it doesn't feel 100% right. Or it might just be how I have it set up. Taking the wide line there through that chicane. I think that's a fourth gear with just a slight lift. Passing a car down the straightaway, but he's gonna maybe pass me back. And I think one of the best things to watch at this track is some of the footage of Senna in the Lotus 98T, I think in 1985, maybe 86. But full boost, wiggling out of the corners, just so amazing. And you can't really tell, although it does feel better than it did, but I'm just barely touching the brake pedal. The car's coming to like a complete stop. Oh, I'm missing that right-hander there. Curbs are absolutely brutal. I mean, they're probably not unrealistic, but pretty severe bumps. All right, crossing the line there. Still not really getting a lap together, but I think things are going a little bit better. Hope folks enjoy watching this so far. You know, it's not the best driving, but this is kind of a fun way to learn on the stream. Okay, that corner sneaks up. Feels like it should be a left, but it goes to the right there quite sharply. Jumping the curbs there a little bit. Well, we're not getting passed by cars every 3 seconds, so I have to think, although we're driving terribly, we're a little bit quicker. It's very easy to loop the car there in that last corner. Definitely brings back memories. I'm gonna let this chain of cars go by. Sticking with the group in front a little bit, although probably braking too much for that right-hander before the straightaway. It's possible now to brake without locking the tires up, though, so I think that adjustment on the brake pedal was good, and I might want to do the same thing, honestly, to the throttle. How much wheel spin I'm getting coming out of corners, especially this last corner, even in second gear. Continually looping the car. Car flying over those curbs and getting very sideways. Azaris, I think you might be right that this is the hardest track in the game, although they all seem pretty hard at this point. Here. And I think I might really, yes, I might really need the same setting for throttle. But unfortunately, you have to back all the way out of the weekend and everything to go change the settings. But we might do that. Let's see if we can get a couple more practice laps in. Made it through the first chicane this lap. See if we can catch this. I think it's probably a Sauber in front of me. Or no, blue car. Bunch of interesting teams in this season. Could be a Simtech. I think it was right at the end of when there was just so many teams in F1. The straightaway here. Yeah, it is the Simtech car, sponsored by MTV. Of course, historically, Roland Ratzenberger passing away in a crash the same weekend that we lost Ayrton Senna. He was driving in the Simtech. Whoa. Wow. And no way to catch that one. I don't even know how much what I hit there. Alright, we'll see if we can get the car straightened back out. I might actually reset to the pits here. And what we'll do, we'll jump out, we'll set change that throttle setting since that seems to matter quite a bit. And it's right, it's in the control settings. There's too many menus in this game. I think that's one thing they probably could have worked on a bit. Even in Grand Prix 4, the menus are not great. And I think the Papyrus Sims definitely had the level up on those. All right, we're gonna stick with Australia since I've learned a bit of the circuit. Just looking at the track facts here, 2.3 miles. The circuit itself. We're going to go straight into qualifying. And it's pretty cool. Up top here we have the driver board of where we are. So at least we'll be able to track. We have 14 minutes left. We'll be able to track how far back we're going to start here. But we'll come out of the pits. Alright, and we'll try to just put together some laps. We're going to have to feel this throttle change. See if we can be more successful without spinning out every corner. Still have to try not to run wide. Run up the hill here, dip through that fast right-hander. Feels like it could be very easy to lose the car there, but maybe we'll have just enough speed where we stick. Almost coming to a stop there, exiting the corner. Just don't want to run over the curbs. Alright, we'll come to start our flying lap. Getting that first chicane all wrong. To really predict the steering in the car, it still feels a little bit mushy, I would say. Not super precise. You might say it's because of that the steering setting I have set in the garage, but it honestly was impossible to drive without that set. Scared to use that first gear coming out of corners, but Might be possible now with the throttle change we made. Getting up onto that curb, able to keep the car straight. So we did complete the first lap. It was a terrible lap, but we were able to get through it. Concentrating here, trying to get through the left and rights and the chicanes. Fast through that right-hander. It's not feeling like the worst lap in the world, but definitely did lose quite a bit of time in that one corner. Almost spinning out there. That throttle change was huge, though. I think this has definitely helped out quite a bit. Come through the chicanes here. That was interesting, losing the back end of the car a little bit. I have to breathe. I think I'm just holding my breath the whole time. Yeah, and I'm also, Great Outdoors, pretty interested in what the right lights indicate as well. And I don't know why that one's red right now. It says it's maybe driver assist. It's that they are available, but they're not enabled. Interesting. See if we can power out of this. Seems like it doesn't hurt the car much, just tapping the wall. We saw a little flagman. Forgot that the game had flagmen on the sides of the circuit when there's an accident. Well, the lights up and down the bottom right side of the cockpit indicate the actual assists, and they're all off right now. That would be these green lights if I turn on the gear shifting. You can see there. So I'm talking about the ones right next to the gear counter. Not sure what the red light there means. Might be my fuel. That actually probably is it. I have 1.4 laps left, so let's see if we can make the most of this. Running wide. Not the end of the world there. Running wide again. Those two right-handers, those are two corners. Just have to remember better. We're up through 6th gear then. Down to 1st for the tight right-hander at the end of the straightaway. Great passing opportunity, I'm sure, going into that. We'll come around. We're going to complete this lap, although we would totally not make it back to the pits in real life. Oh, and spinning out. Oh my God. Losing out then. Looks like we're in 6th place somehow, with 6 minutes to go. So we're going to try to leave the pits again and try to get one more run in here before the session ends. Alright, we'll come through here. We're just going to come straight onto the circuit and try to do this outlap like it's a flyer. We got fuel again, though. We kind of cheated there. This is just a fun race. It'll be my first race in GP2 in probably over 10 years. Probably more than that, actually. Oh, I'm just giving a little too much juice there. See if we can turn the car around. I think what we have to do is put it in neutral. Rev her up. Spin the tires out. Alright. My teammate just going by. Jean Alesi. We have one car behind us, but looking like he's going to stay there. So we will try to do an actual lap now. Don't worry, every attempt previously was a fake attempt. We're going to actually do one now. I'm hitting that front wing off, but we're going to keep going. This might be our last try at the lap, so we got to make the most of it. And honestly, the car doesn't feel that bad, even though I don't have a front wing. Guess we'll tell in this corner. And it pushes a bit. Car missing the apex there. I'll blame it on the front wing. So coming around to the line, no front wing. We're gonna go again. I don't see the flagger out. Jumping through the curbs, slamming into the wall. I think that might be it for our quali. Jump back to the pits here. We'll take a look at the board. So we see warning lights. Red is a reliability problem. Other red is low fuel, less than 2 laps of fuel. We have an amber split time. Amber's general pit messaging. So it seems like those lights are trying to tell me something, but they're not, whoops, switching to another car. They're not super intuitive. Yeah, that's actually one cool thing you can do is switch to other cars. And it looks like Eddie Irvine not having a pretty good qualifying. Getting towed and craned over the wall. Eric Comas. It's pretty fun to watch the cars here. It looks like everybody might be in the pits now, so we'll come back to my car. So it looks like we're finishing the session, and I have to remember how you actually finish the session. I can X out and accelerate time. That's right. So I can view the session time. So we got Michael Schumacher, of course, with the quickest time. David Coulthard and my teammate Jean Alesi in third. So should be able to to match him at least. But we are all the way back in 14th, about halfway up the field. So it's not the worst in the world. And if we come back, we can see Mark Blundell and Olivier Pani. The very end of the field, not turning times, I guess. So we're both having some issues. But we will accelerate time and then continue. Aha, and there's more qualifying. So we're going to skip right to the qualifying. And I forgot there's 2 rounds of qualifying here. So we will go ahead and leave the pits. I'm going to try to do a lap there. See how far we can get up the grid. I do want to get to the race shortly. Go to the Williams behind me. It's pretty cool. The rearview mirror in this sim much better than in IndyCar racing. Looks like it might be Coulthard. Oh, hitting the tires and ruining my lap there. I'll come back to the pits, and it looks like I didn't actually change my tires. Let's see if I can do that. Change tires. Select tire set. So this is where I have to go left and right with the steering wheel. We'll do set to fuel 5 laps. Alright, leaving the pits. Yeah, I do love the little touches in sims like this that you just don't have in modern ones, like a marshal coming out and pushing a car. Even though it looks unrealistic, and I think it's maybe why you could get away with it back then, because everything was a little bit make-believe anyway. Right? You're kind of dreaming that you're at the circuit to begin with, so if a marshal disappears out of thin air, it's not super immersion breaking, whereas these days everything looks so realistic that if you half-ass, you know, a marshal, it's gonna look terrible and out of place. Rearview mirror better than F1 2019. It might be. I haven't tried 2019 yet. I do have 2018. Alright, we'll come through here and start a flying lap. So we're shooting for like a 120, right? Which I don't know what's gonna happen, but we can try for it. A bit wide there. Getting that corner, which I know I've been missing a bunch. Get through this second chicane. Oh, I'm missing that corner though. Try to run wide. Can't run over the curbs. Through sixth gear. It's really funny whenever this game comes up, there's such a large contingent of folks that see these as the absolute pinnacle of Sims, especially back in the day. And I think there's merits to them and things that the other Sims did better. I think overall it's a very well polished game, obviously. Alright, we turned another 123 there, which is somehow good enough to qualify halfway through the field. I think with a little bit of practice, I could get pretty good at this. Whoa, I'm braking late. Oh, I'm spinning out. That lap was going so well. Trying to spin the car around here and get back to it. We're gonna be up behind this Tyrrell pretty quickly, I imagine. Alright, we'll start another flying lap here. Yeah, and I am using a modern wheel with the Sim G27, so I guess not super modern by any stretch, but definitely a trick to get it working. You have to get your wheel working in DOSBox. For me, it had to be the only USB game controller attached to my PC, so I usually have a separate shifter, and my pedals are usually hooked up separately. But I had to hook up everything all together. Combined access for the throttle brake. And then I was able to actually get it working. Had to map the shift buttons through a Joy to Key program to some actual keyboard buttons to get them working. So, not super easy to get the Sim up and running for sure, but coming over to complete a lap. Running a bit wide through the final corner. We'll try for one more lap. I got 1.1 laps of fuel left. We'll see if that's enough to make it. Car jumping out in front of us here. And slamming into the barrier. Alright, let's see what we got for session times now. And where are we? Sean Lacey up there. So we're looking at session 2. So if we come scrolling back, Gerhard Berger. So we got 122.6. So we're going to leave it there. I want to get to this race. So we'll accelerate the time. Here we go. So we'll view the session times again. Gerhard Berger, where are we? 16th. So pretty poor qualifying for Ferrari. but about mid-pack. So we're gonna try race here, and we'll see how we do. I'm gonna save the game. Call it Livestream Adelaide. That'll be fine. Just in case it doesn't like the name. Just in case something terrible happens. Totally won't. Just in case something terrible happens, though, we'll save it. Name too long again. What does it want me to do? A character. There we go. It's funny, it lets you type a longer name. Alright. So we're going to do the race. We're going to see how well it does. But we got Michael Schumacher on the pole. I love how it goes through and gives you all these graphics and everything. So 26 cars. We're going to be doing 8 laps. Let's see if we can make it through the race. Alrighty. So here we are on the grid. Do 8 laps here at Adelaide. Lights are on. Green, away we go. Shifted into first. Massive burnout. And then take it real easy as we try to funnel into this first chicane. Oh, smoke in front. Cars locking their tires. Able to make it through there. So we're on the back of a Sauber. We'll try to outbrake him. Not able to do it. But we'll sneak up the inside here. I have to go the long way around. But able to get around that Sauber there. Not sure who it was. Have to learn the drivers from 94 a little bit better. Try to get on the gas. So main goals here, not spinning the car for sure. So we're drafting up behind a Tyrrell. Jumping way out to the inside. And tapping a Jordan. See if we can keep the car going straight. Causing a huge calamity at the end of the straightaway. But somehow making it through the first lap. We'll see if there's any DNFs from that incident. Maybe a little overly optimistic for myself. The AI race so well. I forgot how well they really do race. Alex and Artie in the pits. This second chicane here. We'll try to see if we can get a good draft. Slipstream by this Sauber in front of us. Down through first. Maybe need more steering lock to get around these tight corners, especially when passing. And running out into the guardrail. This is not going to be good. Car on fire streaming by. Alright, we're going to try to restart this race. Because I want to do that properly. First race in a long time. Let's see how we load a race. Return to drive and load game. Live. Okay. See if we can do it. Alright. We're going to start the race again. It was too hectic. Alright. On the grid once again. Red lights are on. Green, we're underway. Cars stopped in front. Looks like one of the Benettons. We're playing bumper cars going into the first corner. First start was much cleaner than that. But I don't think we've got any damage from it, so we'll be able to continue on. Try to throw it up the inside. It's so interesting that the Benetton would be this far back, but maybe it's not Schumacher. That would be his teammate. Maybe Verstappen, actually. Alright, we'll see if we can come into this corner this time and not cause a massive incident. Giving the footwork a little bit of a tap there. And footwork is the F1 team, if you're not familiar with it. I think they only raced a couple of seasons. And into the last corner, just the car not turning. I'm wondering if we have some damage or something. Trying to get out of the dirt though. We are definitely in the back now. Oh man, I'm gonna try one more time. Pretty piss poor effort here. Appreciate everybody sticking with me. Got about 50 people watching, which is pretty cool. All right. We will try one more time here to do a race. Let's see if we can get through at least a handful of the laps. Maybe just need to play it a lot more easy. Red lights are on. Green, we're underway. Try not to play bumper cars this time. And like I said, try not to play bumper cars. Wow, super difficult to to do through the cars. I'm gonna try that again. Obviously, the AI a little bit difficult on the starts, if we can say the least there. All right, we'll try to do this race. See if we can actually get through the first lap. All right, red lights are up. And we're green. Try to block that Benetton from behind and getting around us. A bunch of cars flying up the inside. I just don't think there's a way to avoid running into the back of a car there. They just brake so suddenly. Wow, we have a car flying up the inside. I think I shot somebody off the circuit behind me. But we made it through the first couple corners, which is definitely the scary bit. Up down the straightaway. Might not be close enough this time, although in the first lap they brake pretty heavy for the corner here. Let off the gas and try to slow it down. Car is literally coming to a stop at the end. Alright, but making it through the first lap then. Into the final corner, punting the car out wide. Turns a little bit into bumper cars for sure. It might be that on the higher difficulties the AI is a little smoother. I have them on semi-pro, whatever that means. Alright, getting a good draft here. Come to the inside, try to make a pass. On a car blowing up in front of us. It's gonna slam everybody. Slow way down. I think that was a Tyrrell blowing up. Pretty cool to see. Not something you even see in a lot of modern sims. Mark Blundell, too bad, out of the race. Getting very sideways through that chicane and slamming into the barrier, but somehow we're forgiven. The car coming up the inside. Get it up through the gears here. A little wide and spin out in classic fashion. Well, it was only a matter of time before we spun it, and now we'll for sure be in last, I guess, barring that failure from the Tyrrell. much to learn for sure with the sim. To get back into a good place with it, but definitely having a lot of fun. I hope it's fun for folks to see the old sim here. It's definitely full of surprises. To get a handle on the sim, then it for sure will be a ton of fun. It's pretty sketchy hopping over the curbs there in the chicane. Put some throttle back down. I can still see just barely the cars in front, so we might have a hope of catching a little bit. We're on lap 4 of 8. Coming pretty much to a stop, exiting that corner, trying to stay off the curbs. I guess I have to do a wider entry. Turn out 123. So about as fast as I was doing in qualifying, and that might be the end of it there. With the tires flying off, we'll take a quick look at the car from the outside, but yeah, it looks like I might be missing a left rear tire. So this was meant to just be kind of a practice of this old sim, but as you can see, a lot of work to do for sure. But I appreciate everybody joining. I'm actually gonna jump out now. Some things to take care of, but probably come back at some point with some more GP2. It's definitely something fun to try. If anybody has suggestions on maybe a year to play, I could download some mods and things for the game, but get some of the controls sorted out and do more in the future. But appreciate everybody coming along. And it was a kind of a shorter live stream and not a great result. Some pretty bad driving from myself. But I'll see everybody again next time.